Where's the comments? There we go. All right. Hey, everybody. We are on the air. Thanks for being with us on a Sunday. I want to say, first of all, please go to Car Cost Canada and become an expert member. How do you do that, Zach? Well, you just type in the promo code Motormouth. It's the name of the channel. It's pretty easy to remember. And then you become an expert member. Basically, when you're shopping for a brand new car, you get information from Car Cost Canada, like how much did the dealer pay for that car, their wholesale price. I mean, that's powerful information. Any discounts, rebates, any secret incentives, it'll all be on the site. Promo code Motormouth. The other one is CanadaDrives.ca, new sponsor of the channel. That's for used cars. If you're looking for a used car, you can do it 100% online. You can shop online, get qualified online. You select the car, you check out in the basket, they load it on a trailer and deliver it to your house, sometimes the same day, often the next day, and in many areas, it's absolutely free to have the car delivered. So that's pretty cool. CanadaDrives.ca. I'm going to get to some pictures in a moment. A lot of people sending through questions and comments about all the big storm we had here last week. When we were on the air last week, the rain had started. It was coming down in a big way, and the big storm continued all night, last Sunday night into Monday. Monday, I had to go and pick up the new Honda Civic, and driving from Vancouver into Richmond where I collect the car, and the streets were like rivers of water because a couple of things, so much rain, and then there'd be no leaf cleanup yet from the city. So all the sewers were backed up with leaves. So it was a real mess, but nothing compared to what they had in other parts of British Columbia with roads getting washed out and all that kind of stuff. So we're on gas rations now until we get a steady supply of fuel coming into this part of British Columbia. So we're only allowed to put 30 liters of fuel in at a time. So I kind of saw this coming last week. So the big storm happened Sunday into Monday. I got all of our cars fueled and filled before they did the rations. So I did that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I kind of saw that was coming. So I filled up all of our cars. So we have fuel, which is good. Andrew just went to the grocery store today. There are some things that are missing, but for the most part, we have all of that. So things in BC are good for us and terrible for other people. And one of the things that's interesting is if you've been watching the news, if you're in Canada, about the big flood that's happening out in the Abbotsford, Chilliwack area. That used to be a lake until 100 years ago. They drained the lake. It was a shallow lake, but it would fluctuate in size depending on if there was heavy rain. And they drained the lake to turn it into very, very fertile farmland. But it wants to be a lake. There's a pump that runs every day, all day, and it has been for 100 years to keep that dry. So think about that when you see the big floods. Terrible situation, but nature wants to go back to its natural state. What else is going on? Vehicles that are coming out in videos. We're going to have the Corolla hatchback versus the Civic hatchback. The Civic video dropped yesterday morning. That's the full-length video. We're going to do the comparison of Civic hatch, Corolla hatch. That's coming out on Tuesday. Wednesday, the GTI video that we recorded when we were back east a week ago. And then on Saturday, it's the Hyundai Santa Fe PHEV will be the vehicle that we're covering. Okay, so now we have just a couple of pictures, and the reason why we only have a couple of pictures is because I keep forgetting to tell you where to send them. So if you want a picture of your car on the live show here, send it to Zach@motormouth.ca, ZACK@motormouth.ca, or ZACK@motormouth.ca if you're from south of the border. Only two pictures today. The first one, this one comes from Maurizio, sent in a picture of his '09 V6, which is cool. Honda Accord Coupe, which is cooler. Manual transmission makes it really cool. The only downside is Maurizio sold this car. I drove pretty much that exact same car, except it was white, but it was an Accord V6 manual transmission, and so much fun. The next one, this comes from Carter, who's probably going to be on the live show here with a question. Sent in a picture of the Subaru Baja and asked what I thought of it. A neighbor of ours, like 2 doors down, had one of those, parked in front of our house all the time. I just think it was maybe the right car at the wrong time. I think if they brought it out now with all of these crossover-based pickup trucks like the Santa Cruz and the new Maverick and so on, it maybe would have stood a chance, but I don't think they're going to bring it back. Okay. If you have to just get a question answered, then you can always do a super chat on the show if you like. Okay. Let's get into the questions. First one up is Stephen Wong. Hey, Zach, would you rather get a 2021 demo Corolla LE or a new 2022 Corolla L? There's really no difference. It's the same car. It depends how much of a deal you're getting on the used car. And the one thing you shouldn't be paying for is the freight, okay? If the car has been registered and licensed already as a demo, you shouldn't be paying for freight. So I'm inclined to go for the LE and a demo. That's what I would go for if the deal was good. If there's really not much in it, then maybe just get the 2022, but I'm leaning more towards the demo. Hey, Zach, can you make a 2022 Ford Mustang Mach-E GT and a 2022 Tucson plug-in hybrid and a Nissan Sentra SR electric blue? Hey, dude, I don't have a choice of what color the car is going to be. Just so you know, the Tucson plug-in hybrid we don't have, but we have the Santa Fe plug-in hybrid that's going to be coming out on Saturday. My mother-in-law has ordered a Tucson plug-in hybrid, so we'll see who gets the car first, the Hyundai press car or my mother-in-law. Whichever one comes first, we're going to do a video on it. And the same with the Mustang Mach-E. As soon as it gets here, the GT will get our hands on it. Or here's Carter, who sent in the picture of the Baja. Most manufacturers considering making an EV with simulated petrol sounds coupled with a manual transmission for enthusiasts. Don't think that we're going to see manual transmissions in electric cars. There are people who have done retro kits on older cars. A former neighbor of mine, if you type in Porsche electric 912, you'll have it pop up. Ian Corlett, former neighbor of mine, now lives in California, made a vintage early 70s, I believe it was, Porsche 912, took the 4-cylinder out and electrified it, put a battery, and it has a manual transmission. So it certainly can be done. Hey, Zach, like your show, I'm looking at a 2022 X3 M40 or the 2022 Jaguar F-Pace. Any options on what is the better pick? Well, the better pick is the BMW, and stay tuned. I'm not sure when the video is going to go out, which we have a lot of stuff coming into the queue here, but we just drove the X3 M40i. And just based on, the BMW would be the one that I would choose of those two. And the video will be coming out soon. What date? I don't know exactly when. But yeah, the BMW is the better vehicle. The Jag is a little bigger. So if it's all about space, the Jag has more room. Eric, while watching your review of the Civic hatchback, I wondered why the Forte 5 GT is a forgotten card as a 1.6 turbo, manual or dual clutch is priced much lower. You know what, Eric? It's a good point. To be honest with you, the reason why I kept on talking about the GTI in comparison to the Civic is because when we had the Civic hatchback last year, I just kept saying buy the GTI. And we had just driven the new GTI, and the GTI video is coming out on Wednesday. So we had a little bit of GTI on the brain. There's no question about it. And you're absolutely right. There were other options out there, and the Hyundai product is a fantastic choice. But that's why we were focusing on the GTI, because we mentioned it in the previous video, and we do have a video coming up on that brand new car, which is coming out on Wednesday. Hey, Zach, I have a 2021 Chevy Bolt. GM said they would replace the car, then replace the battery. Now there's new software. GM's response is poor. I'm getting dizzy from their circular logic. Well, I don't know the technical reason for that. I suspect that what they initially thought they had to do was get rid of the cars, then get rid of the battery, and now they're able to fix it with software update. I mean, it's their recall. They don't owe you a new car. If they can fix the car and not have to replace it or the battery, then that's what they're doing. So I'm not sure what the technical reason is for that. Obviously, they feel they don't have to go to that extreme measure any longer. They're able to do something with software. So that's all I can say about that. But they don't... they don't have to buy. All they're obliged to do is to fix the car. They're not obliged to give you another car unless you're in a state in the U.S. that has like a lemon law. But that's what they're obliged to do under warranty. Hey Zach, Crosstrek or CX30, what are your thoughts? I do some off-road, but mostly city and highway. Love your show. Well, these are both great products. The Crosstrek is going to be roomier, okay? Especially the back seat. You're going to notice that the CX30 maybe feels a little claustrophobic with the crop roof and the small side windows. The biggest difference is the fact that the Crosstrek comes with a continuously variable transmission, and the Mazda comes with a good old 6-speed automatic. Okay, so that's something you have to get your head around whether you want a CVT or not. Now, the one that you should look for in the Crosstrek line is the outdoor model. Is it outdoor? Yeah, outdoor model that has the larger engine, not the 2-liter, the 2.5-liter. That's where you want to start shopping. So there are 2 trims in the Crosstrek line, the outdoor and the limited, that come with that larger engine. The other 2-liter versions of it, I would take a pass. That's really where you should. That's really should be the base engine. Now, on the Mazda side, the world is your oyster. You have so many choices: the 2-liter, the 2.5-liter, and then the 2.5-liter turbo, and they're all good. Even the base model is really quite respectable. Most people probably shop in the base 2.5-liter without turbocharging it. If you have the money and you can afford the turbo, you won't be disappointed. So it really comes down to what your priorities are. Kia Soul, is it worth a buy? Thoughts? Any other in the same range? Well, the Soul used to be quite unique because of its shape and all that kind of stuff. There are more and more small crossovers in the marketplace. Now, the Soul has a couple of things. It used to be an automatic. And now with the latest version that came out a couple of years ago, they went to a continuously variable transmission. So that's not exactly positive. And it's only front wheel drive. Now, if you're just driving and bombing around town in it, it's probably going to be, it will be more than adequate. But there are lots of choices now. See, when that vehicle first came out, it was kind of unique size and a unique offering. Now there are so many small crossovers with so many different shapes and sizes and engines and configurations and prices. Like a perfect example would be the new Toyota Corolla Cross would be another excellent alternative. And available with all-wheel drive, where the Soul is not available with all-wheel drive. But it depends on where you live and if you even care about that. What's your opinion about the Nissan Kicks? Well, every time I drive the Nissan Kicks, I really like it. It's a fun little vehicle. Inexpensive. They have pretty good value in the packages. I think you go one up from the base where you get pretty much all the things you really need. It's inexpensive. This is what used to be a small hatchback car. They're not really selling those anymore. So now they've gone to this small crossover vehicle. Same thing as the Soul. Only front-wheel drive. No all-wheel drive offered. And every time I drive it, I really like it. I think the Kicks is a lot of fun. There is a video on the Kicks that Andrea and I did about a year and a half ago. I mean, that vehicle hasn't changed, so or maybe it was even less than that. Yeah, because it got a facelift. So maybe a year ago. There's a video on the channel. Watch it. Hey Zach, I was thinking of getting a battery electric vehicle. After seeing the BZX4, but do a lot of highway driving, do you think a hybrid would be a better option? Listen, these cars are going to be all around the 400 kilometer or 250 miles of range. So I'm not sure how far you're going on the highway, but you know what? If you have the ability to charge at the other end before you return, you could probably do most highway trips with a battery electric vehicle. So 250 miles or 400 kilometers, that's with the front wheel drive model. They haven't revealed the all-wheel drive range, but if it's anything similar to the new Volkswagen ID4, they only lost about, well, I think it was 16 kilometers of range by adding the all-wheel drive component. So yeah, a hybrid is instant savings, okay? So the one thing I like about hybrids, and I'm always promoting people buy them, is that you don't have to pay much more than the conventional gas car to get one. We'll choose the RAV4 as an example. I think the difference between the gas and the hybrid model is less than $2,000, and you're instantly saving fuel, and it's a known entity. You know, as much range as there is fuel in the car, easy to fill it up. You never have to plug the vehicle in, and fantastic resale value. So maybe and I've been saying this a lot as well, maybe for a lot of people, going from a regular gas car to a hybrid until there's more and more and more battery electric vehicles with better range and all of that coming into the marketplace over the next few years. Maybe this vehicle now is going to be hybrid, and maybe the next one might be battery electric vehicle, but it's a good stepping stone technology. All right, we have a super chat here. Harold is sending in a super chat. No question, just doing support of the channel. For that, I say thank you. All right. We have one super chat. Oh, another one came in. I see the way it works. Lakeva. Lakeva. Could we buy the 3-liter Mercedes E-Class diesel station wagon in America? If so, does it come with a manual option? No. There are no more diesels being sold by Mercedes-Benz. The E-Class diesel that was sold was a 4-cylinder. It wasn't the 3-liter. And no, never sold as a manual transmission. That's fantasy talk, man. Yeah. No such beast. And the 4-cylinder diesel in the E-Class was a bit pokey. It wasn't that great. Like, the thing is, I agree with you. I think the 3-liter diesel would be fantastic in an E-Class, but that's not what they offer. Todd is asking, any info on the F-150 Lightning? No, we just got to wait. Ford has booked a lot of reservations for that truck, so now we have to wait for the production model to come. But yeah, that's what we're into now. Everybody's in the waiting game for the Tesla truck, the Cybertruck, and this one, and then the Rivian and all of them. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to wait until we get our hands on them. Hey Zach, what's your thoughts on the Subaru Solterra BZ4X? I personally think the 220 miles in the Solterra is very low considering the battery pack is similar size to the Tesla Model Y. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're just sandbagging the range initially because EPA range is different than they do on the Japanese or European test cycle. So we'll have to wait until we get the official numbers on it. But you know what? That 220, so the Toyota version, they came out and said the range was going to be 250 miles or 400 kilometers for the front-wheel drive model. As I mentioned a moment ago, the difference between front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, for example, with the ID4 is negligible. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to achieve something similar to that. So, like I said, we have to wait until we get our hands on it. We have to wait till we get the official EPA numbers. But how often do you ever driving 220 miles at a go? That's what I want to know. I suspect not very often. Julie Smith, is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay a must-have, or is Bluetooth good enough? Hey, listen, Julie, we're living in a time where, you know, what do you really need? We've all lived with cars with no Bluetooth. I'm sure you're old enough to have remembered okay, here's a perfect example. I have an '08 Porsche Cayenne GTS, and I picked my son up from football practice, and he says, Pop, I want to play you a song from Spotify. He says, do you have an auxiliary jack, or how do I connect to the car? I said, this car doesn't even have Bluetooth. He's like, he couldn't believe it, that a car sold in 2008 didn't have Bluetooth. So there's no way to connect a phone to the car. I'm waiting there's going to be an upgrade on it. I'm going to get the new version when it comes out. But if you're just doing it to connect your phone so you can talk to people hands-free, and you're just doing it to connect to your phone so you can play a playlist from, say, Spotify, Bluetooth will do that. You don't need to have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. What those two functions add is the ability to take the smartphone apps that are allowed to be broadcast onto the screen and do that. So maps, navigation, your contact list, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, you can get by with just Bluetooth, absolutely. It's nice to have it, but Bluetooth will get you your phone calls, and you'll be able to stream music. Are you going to be doing an in-depth review of the Ford Escape PHEV? Yes, we are. We pick it up next Monday. So a week tomorrow is when we get the PHEV, and that will be coming out shortly after. So within the next couple of weeks, the PHEV video will be out. What are your thoughts on the Toyota Sienna XLE 2022 as a family car? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, except that I'm not sure what kind of driving you're doing. The vehicle is using a 4-cylinder hybrid system now, okay? So at times I found it to be a little bit lackluster in the power department. Now, if you're filling up all 6 or 7 or 8 seats, and you're doing runs, on the highway or through the mountains, might not be the van I would pick. But if you're just putting around town, taking kids to soccer and ballet and hockey practice or whatever you do, it'll be just fine. Plus, it's a bulletproof technology that Toyota has been working on for 30 years almost. Thank you to you and the missus for all your hard work. Well, that's very nice. Yes. I mean, a lot of our friends are like, oh, how much do you guys work? And we say, we work every day, 7 days a week. Do electric vehicles have to worry about driving through water more than conventional vehicles? I would say that no, they are able to go through water. Everything is sealed. You got to remember the battery pack needs to be sealed from outside sources, so it can get wet. I wouldn't submerge it for long. Now, just like any vehicle, certain components of the car should not be getting submerged in water. But I think, for driving in most rainy situations are just fine. Hey, Zach, shortlisted 3 vehicles, G70, Stinger, TLX, A-Spec. What would you recommend, the 2-liter T or the 3.3 for the G70? Well, I always are going to recommend the turbo 3.3 liter. Of those 3, I like the Stinger the best. It's because it's just the latest Stinger. They did a great job on it. There's really not okay. You got to remember that the G70 and the Stinger are the same, a modified version of the same platform, same engines, a lot of similarities. The Stinger is bigger, it's a longer car, it's heavier. So you have to factor that in. But if you're just looking for a comfortable, nice looking car that's got all the creature comforts, the interior of the top end Stinger is as nice, if not nicer, than the Genesis. In Canada, they have what's a full suede dash pad that you can get in it. So that's the one I would choose of those 3. Hi from Olympic Village, that's just down the road from here. Thoughts on the 2022 Civic Si with HDP versus HD? Well, I'm not sure what HDP is. Versus the GTI performance trim. I think the GTI would be the first choice, but VW going fully digital in the cabin kind of turns me off. All right, yeah. So wait for the video on the GTI. It comes out on Wednesday. HDP. I'm not sure what that means. The GTI has a limited slip front differential, and the Civic does not. It has more power. It's got 240 horsepower and loads of torque. It's definitely the one I would choose of the 2. And the digital interior is not what I want in a Golf, or I wouldn't want it in any car. But after actually using it for a little while, it's okay. You can get your head around it. You end up using the buttons on the steering wheel more than you would, turning the radio up and all that kind of stuff. It's not what I want in a Golf, but I could get my head around it because I like the rest of the car. The video's coming out Wednesday. Here's Jerome from Quebec. About Abbotsford, painful reminder that you should never F with nature. Well, yeah, I talked about it a moment ago. The big Abbotsford flood that's taken out all those farms and everything. That used to be a lake, Sumas Lake. And the reason why they drained it was the lake, basically there's 2 mountain ranges and then there's the valley in the middle. And that would collect water, and the size of the lake could triple or quadruple in size in the spring runoff or in fall rains like we're having now. So it had this elastic effect to the size of the lake. So it wasn't a deep lake, but it would just change in size. And if you think about it, that's nature's way of capturing the water, excess water, and then it dissipating over time. But the farmers who had crops around the lake couldn't rely on it, because if there was a lot of rain, the lake would grow in size and it would wipe out all their crops. So they decided 100 years ago to drain that lake bed and turn it into very, very useful land. It's some of the most fertile land in all of North America. It's a riverbed, former riverbed and lake bed. And so, but the problem is, when you get a huge storm like that, it wants to return to its natural state. That's the problem. Greetings from Illinois. Zach, my neighbor has an A35 AMG. Since they are not sold in the US, I assume they came from Canada. Is the process difficult and expensive to import a car from Canada? It's not too expensive. I'm not sure about the logistics about getting a non-US spec car into the country. That's something you would need to go and ask a car broker that specializes in that kind of stuff. That's a very cool little car, and yeah, it's a shame it's not sold in the US. So it could have been one of those situations where somebody emigrated from Canada to the United States, and they were allowed to bring their personal artifacts with them as part of moving to another country. So that's maybe how the car got into the country. So you could have hosers living next door and you don't even know it, like real Canadians that eat maple syrup and drive Mercedes A-Class. So that's something to consider. It could have come in as part of a move. But yeah, I don't know the exact answer to that. It's not expensive, but the legalities around specific models, I don't know. But it's a cool car. Another one that isn't sold in the United States is the C-Class wagon. Now that's a nice car. That's a really nice car. A Mercedes-Benz C-Class wagon, not sold in the US, but sold here in Canada. Bruce is telling me there are numerous large dealerships in Phoenix with empty lots. We're kind of at the worst of all of this chip shortage and supply shortage now. What I'm hearing and what I'm reading, and a lot of indications are, as we go into 2022 and as we head towards the middle of next year, the worst, like we'll really be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and the worst we're going through right now. Some brands, depends on the time. You know, the worst for Toyota was September and October. Now they're building back inventory. The worst for Volkswagen, from what I'm hearing, is just about to start. So it depends on the brands and how they're dealing with the chips. Ford seems like they've got a handle on improving their chip situation, which is what they need, because they need to sell all the F-150s they can. That's where they make all their money. General Motors is removing heated seats in their SUVs. Can you believe that? No heated seats. I'd be really pissed if I bought a Cadillac and it didn't have heated seats. So there you go. That we're gonna have to wait. My advice is, I know this is a new car channel and we talk about new cars, but if your car isn't desperately needing to be replaced, just keep driving it and wait it out. Hey Zach, what's your opinion on the new GT4 RS? What are you gonna say? Yeah, I'll take two. Fantastic. My theory on the German car brands bringing out, not so much with Mercedes because they backtracked, they're not doing the V8 AMG cars for 2022, but you look at Audi with all the RS models they brought out, the RS6, the RS6 Avant, the RS Q8, all of these expensive high power cars they bringing into the market that we never really got here in North America. AMG, there's loads of AMGs. And then you see Porsche bringing in all these specialty trims of cars. I think why they're doing this is trying to get as much money as they can, knowing that they have some unique and special offerings, because they need the money to transfer into the next stage of motor vehicle production, which is electrification. So it's like they're selling the high margin cars, and often with luxury brands, it's the high performance models. But I think it's beautiful. Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of the Boxster and the Cayman over the 911 for just pure driving fun. 911 is still a great car, but I really like the Boxster and the Cayman. And the next Boxster and Cayman will be electric. We have a super chat. Porsche has perfected the shape of the mid-size SUV. What do you think? I want a Mercedes station wagon diesel, a manual with at least 7 forward speeds. Well, you're not getting one. Porsche has perfected the shape of the midsize SUV. What do you think? We want a Mercedes station wagon diesel, manual. Well, I don't know where you live. Maybe if you live in Europe, that is maybe a possibility that exists, but not here, not in this part of the world. And this is Scott Mustard just doing a super chat. Thank you for that. Oh, here's his question. Electric car rebates in Ontario and what price threshold? So Scott, if you're in Ontario, the only electric car rebate you qualify for is the federal one. That's the federal government's $5,000. And it's $2,500 if it's a plug-in hybrid. The car has to start under $45,000. That's why you'll see all of the electric cars sold in Canada all have a base model at 45 or 44,995, something like that. So you'll get $5,000 on a pure battery electric vehicle from the federal government. If you live next door in Quebec, they throw another $8,000 at it. And they wonder why Quebec has the highest take rate of electric cars in Canada. But when you're paying people $13,000 to buy a car, they'll take your money. It's just crazy. The whole thing is crazy, if you ask me. And it's not getting any more cars off the road. It's not getting any new buses or subways built. But hey, you got a shiny electric car that your neighbors help pay for. That's great. All right. Where the hell was I? Deepak, should we take a car on lease for 2 to 3 years instead of buying now, considering future is all about hybrid car? Listen, I think that it all comes down to your personal financial situation. I'm a big fan of leasing. I think leasing makes sense for a lot of people. You get lower payments each month. You get the car you want. You have the car under warranty typically when you're leasing a car, and then at the end of it, I call it the long-term test drive. So you're driving the car for 2 or 3 years, and then if you really like it and you don't want to get rid of it and there's still good equity in it, you can take over the lease, buy it out and keep it. So you kind of have your cake and eat it too. If you don't like the car, it's been problematic and you think you don't love it, you give it back, you walk away and you get something new. So it's something to consider. Here's John from Moncton. Hey, Zach, missed a few shows. Hope all is good out west. It's all good where we are. It's going to be really interesting to see. The big problem is the gasoline shortage here. They're limiting, because of this big storm we had, massive amounts of infrastructure have been shut down. The main fuel line that comes from Alberta here to Vancouver, all the protesters trying to shut down the expansion of the Enbridge pipeline. Well, the reason why that and here's the other thing people don't know. That pipeline has been in the ground since the 50s. And the reason why there was a pipeline built all the way from northern Alberta in Edmonton, all the way through the mountains here to Vancouver, is we are landlocked. There's nowhere to get energy into Vancouver. The whole area was built because of that pipeline. They want to double it, and they're working on doing that. But everybody, I guarantee you, until 3 or 4 years ago, nobody even knew that pipeline was there. It's been there since the 1950s, and that's how we get our gas here in Vancouver. So it's shut down right now. So fuel is going to be scarce. We can bring up some fuel, obviously, from the United States, and also we can ship it in. But yeah, it's going to be tricky to see what happens over the next little while. So right now, you're only allowed to put 30 liters of fuel in your car at a time. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. A dealership is asking for a non-refundable $1,000 deposit for a new car. Should I be asking for a VIN number and the final price of the car before making the deposit? Anytime you're putting a deposit on a car, make sure that it is 100% refundable. Do not sign a contract with a non-refundable deposit. That's just not smart. And they're not going to give you the VIN number because the car probably hasn't been built yet. So there's not been a VIN allocated to that car. So with this car shortage, you say we'll pick a I want I want a Chevy Tahoe. You go into the Chevy dealer and the guy says, listen, give us a deposit, we'll order you the Tahoe, and we'll let you know when it's coming. When the car is being built, they produce a VIN, and that's associated with that car. But that doesn't happen until production starts. So they don't have a VIN number. They can't give you that because obviously with all the shortages, the actual production of that model might be 2 or 3 or 4 months down the road. We don't know. But do not do a non-refundable deposit. Insist that it is refundable. There's no downside for the dealer. If say they get that Chevy Tahoe on the lot and you decide you don't want it, they'll have no problem selling it. So they shouldn't be asking for a non-refundable deposit. The Subaru Baja and the Honda Element came out during the wrong time period. And that Element was super popular. I just always could never understand why Honda let that thing just disappear. They were incredibly popular from what I could see. And they could have modified it and kept the whole thing going. I don't understand some of these car companies and what they do. Thank you to you and Andrew for all your hard work. I just want to thank you. I bought both the 21L ZL1 and 1LE and my Santa Cruz because of you. Well, that's cool. You got lots of cars coming out. That's awesome. Okay, we've done that one already. Hey, Zach, will Mitsubishi make the Outlander with a V6 or a turbo engine in the future? No. They're going to stick with the engine they have, and they're going to produce the plug-in hybrid. So the plug-in hybrid is coming middle of next year, and it's going to have, on the Japanese test cycle, 87 kilometers of EV range. That's really good. That's where I think it should be, right around 80 kilometers of EV range. So it's going to be different on the EPA test cycle, but I think it's going to be probably right around the same range as the RAV4 Prime. We'll have to wait till we get the official numbers. But on the Japanese test cycle, it's 87 kilometers. So you're getting more jump out of the car because if you've got electrification, you've got the electric motors, that's going to give you more torque. It's going to make it more responsive. It'll be a better driving vehicle than the gas model. Here's the scary thing. Nissan has just announced that the Rogue coming next year will have a 1.5 liter turbo 3-cylinder engine in the Nissan Rogue. That's right, you heard me right. A 1.5 liter turbo 3-cylinder. And they're getting rid of the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. So that is coming for Nissan. What vehicle shares the same platform with the Nissan Rogue? The Outlander. So does that mean the Outlander is also going to get the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder? I'm not sure. But yeah, it wouldn't be the engine I'd want, I'll tell you that. So maybe that's going to be the engine that's matched to the electric system. We're going to have to wait and see because all the details about that vehicle, the plug-in hybrid, have not been finalized. They've not been made public. I'm now looking at a Veloster N or Type R for a daily fun car. Suggestions? Type R, for sure. Wonderful car. Or a Golf R. What is the best EV SUV at the moment? Well, I think it's easy to say just go and get a Tesla Model Y, but it's freaking expensive, man. In Canada, it's a $75,000 car to start. That's the Tesla Model Y. So that takes most people out of the market. That's expensive, which is one of the reasons why I've always said that I think Tesla is not just about EV. It's a prestige brand. It's like I've got the new cool thing, and people want to be associated with that. The same kind of thing happened with Apple. Remember people used to line up and get an iPhone when it first came out? Well, we're seeing that same kind of mindset around Tesla. The ID4 really impressed us. I don't know if you saw the video. It just came out last week. The right size, the right price, and the right range. And I was pleasantly surprised with it. I think it drove really well. It had a real solid feel to it. It didn't feel like super snappy, but they didn't calibrate it for that. They wanted it to replicate what people are used to in a regular conventional gas SUV. So in that way, they did a very good job. So that's one. You know, the Toyota SUV that's coming out, the Beyond Zero SUV will be out in the middle of the year. That might be worth waiting for. We don't know the price yet, but it'll be in Canada under 45 grand because they want to get that federal rebate. Here's Jerome again. My favorite car ever, an E32 7 Series. Absolutely loved that rig before I got rear-ended and got the car totaled. Not able to find another one. Any idea of a good replacement with similar driving characteristics? Well, Jerome, we had one of those. We had a BMW E34, the 5 Series station wagon. That was a cool car in Swartz black, which is dark gray. And then we got the E32 740iL, also in Swartz black. So we had the two cars the same color, the E34 wagon and the E32 740iL. And Andrea used to drive that to work, and she got a lot of ribbing from her colleagues because she was driving this, really fancy car. She got past it. And we had that car for quite a few years. I bought it off my uncle. It was his car. It was a great car. So characteristic, listen, if you want an E32, come west, young man. This is where the cars all live. They're still around. You can find them. It would be cheap to get one. And they're not all rusty like you get in Eastern Canada. So if you wanted an E32, you could find one here. But as you know, it's a maintenance situation. What else would be like that? I don't know. What about an E38 7 Series? That's a great car too. I had one of those as well. Hi, Zach. Are you a Seattle Seahawks fan? I am. I'm a Seahawks fan, yes. Jack, our oldest son, is crazy for the Seahawks. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan because I grew up in Toronto, and the closest team to Toronto was always the Bills, of course, right across Lake Ontario. So it's really good. Not today, but it's good to see that the Bills are playing well again. So Jack's a Seattle Seahawks fan. Jack's favorite team is the Chicago Blackhawks, and they're in town tonight playing the Vancouver Canucks, and he's already going down to the game. So Jack is at the hockey game. It starts just over an hour from now. So yes, there's loads of Seahawks fans around Vancouver because that's our closest U.S. city, right? Will Overkill. There's a $20 super chat. Thank you, Will Overkill. And here's his question. Do you know of any EV coming in the $35,000-ish starting price? I looked at a $38,000 Leaf last week. Wish there was more EVs to purchase without spending over $40,000. Well, you're not going to like my answer, and a lot of people will roll their eyes, and it's not available right now because they're not making them. I think that the Chevy Bolt was the best EV considering the price, as you're alluding to, in Canada, was $38,000. It was a great car, over 400 kilometers of range, nicely packaged, comfortable. They upgraded the interior, put better seats in it, changed the styling a little bit. It's a real fun little car to drive. It's a blast to drive in the city. It's got lots of torque and power. And then GM poached it, and because they have this fire situation, they did a stop sale on them. And now I'm reading reports that production of the EV is being canceled or delayed until the new year. So here we are with 6 weeks left to go in the year. But that would be my choice. And if you actually had to say to me today, you have to buy an EV today, under $45,000, which one would you pick? I would pick the Bolt if I could get one. So that's something to consider. And maybe if you're not in a rush, wait until the Bolt EV sales come back online in the new year, because I really do believe it is the best bang for your buck. I probably shouldn't be saying bang for your buck from a car that could potentially catch on fire, but you get my joke. That's the one I like. The extra range Leaf. The problem with I don't love the Leaf. I mean, it's okay, but I prefer the Bolt. The Quebecer in France. Bonjour. I own a Mazda 3 2021. I always wonder how an Audi S5 rides compared to it. Would it be more comfortable because it has a better suspension? So an S5 compared to a Mazda 3. Well, you're going to get way more power, quieter. Yes, it's going to drive better. The suspension's much more sophisticated than the Mazda. I'm not sure. There's those like apples and pears, those two. But thank you for the super chat. All right. Oh, by the way, we have 365 people on board right now and 90 thumbs up. So if you guys could hit the old thumbs up button, that would be good. Zach would like that. Here's Paul Alexander. Hey, Zach, looking into buying a Mazda CX-5. Couple of things I'd like to know. Is it better to buy now at the end of the year for a good deal? Should I order directly from the manufacturer or wait to 2022? Okay, one thing you need to do, Paul, right away is go and sign up with Car Cost Canada and use the promo code Motormouth. It's the name of the channel, pretty easy to remember. And then it's going to unlock the actual price that the dealer paid for that model, okay? Now, nobody's in a particularly good bargaining position right now. It is not a buyer's market for cars. It is a seller's market. They have way more buyers than they have vehicles at most dealerships. Not sure exactly where they stand right now at Mazda, but probably a good idea to maybe just order the car and wait for it. If the car you're driving right now is fine, just keep driving it and order exactly what you want and wait for it to come. That's what I would do. And also you got to remember, if you're buying a 2021 model car in 6 weeks from now, it'll be a year old, a model old, right? So if you get an order 2022, you have potentially up to a year to drive the vehicle as a current model. Just something to think about for resale value in the future. So I would order the 2022. And if you're looking at a 21, halfway through the year, they changed the size of the screen. Make sure you get the one with the bigger screen. Okay, there's a 21 and a 21 and a half. So if you're looking at what they call a 21, make sure it's a 21 and a half with the bigger screen. Do yourself a favor on that. Here's another super chat. Are there any bugs to work out on the new MDX? Waiting for next year. Warranting waiting for next year. Well, it is a first year vehicle. Okay, it's only been out for about a year. And so I think if you were to buy one in the next 6 months or so, the car would have been out for over a year. So that whole idea of waiting a year, not a bad idea for any new product. I don't know any specific issues with the MDX. It's something that you could quickly look up online. But I think it's a great product. I think they did a very good job with it. It drives more like a big sedan than it does drive like a typical SUV. So that's something to think of. There's Will's super chat again. Very generous of you, Will. Thank you very much. But MDX, yeah, great product and great price. It's interesting because we drove the new Honda Civic, and Honda has put up the prices of their cars. With the Civic, for example, the sedan starts at $25,000. This one here goes up to $35,000 for a Honda Civic. On the Acura side, they've brought out a facelifted RDX. They brought out a new MDX, and the prices on those two products barely moved. They could have taken the opportunity to jack the price up because it's a brand new vehicle. Now there could still be some price adjustments because of the times we're living in, but I think that's one of the reasons why those products sell so well. Here's a perfect example: the Acura RDX, fully loaded, is the same price as a base model Lexus NX 350. Think about that. The top trim of the RDX, fully loaded, is the same price as the base model of the NX. Crazy, right? So Acura is doing something right when it comes to packaging and pricing, and there hasn't been much upward pressure in terms of pricing, which I think is good. Okay, I gotta find out where I was again. Reinhard. Chevy is replacing all batteries on the Bolts or Bolts EUVs. The software is just an intermediate step to limit charging to 80% and allow you to park in garages and lift the other restrictions. So you might be a little bit more up to date on this. The last I read is that they're not changing the batteries on all the vehicles. They're doing the battery control module is going to be replaced. Some vehicles will get new batteries. They're all going to get the control module. All of them will get the new control module and software fixes, and some will get the batteries. Now, if you're intimate with the sort of what's going to happen with the boat because you have one. That's good information, but that's the way I read it. The CX-30, that's the full electric Mazda, is very, very small. Oh, sorry, the CX-30, that's not the electric one. I was thinking the CX-30 is the gas one, is very, very small. One of the downsides of my ownership when I had one, but so much fun to drive, more fun to drive than the Subi. I would agree with that. What do you think of the E65 7 Series, Bangle Butt 7 Series, when it came out? Did it live up to the previous generation in your opinion? No, it did not live up to the previous generation. The previous generation, the E38, in my opinion, is one of the best looking cars ever made by BMW. That was just a beautiful car. I had one. It was silver. It had the M parallel wheels. It had the sport package, silver over black. Beautiful car. I just loved it. It was used in the James Bond movie. I can never remember the name of the movie, but that was the Bond car in one of the films. So the Bangle Butt era, the Bangle Butt is not going down in history as a high point in design. And they were really problematic with electrical gremlins, because it was the first car ever to have the iDrive system. So there was a lot of issues with that. But I want you to stay tuned to the channel, because on Friday, I'm working on doing a cool car for the the cool fun and collectible car that we do every Friday. The BMW that I'm going to be driving on Friday is a car I would love to have. Actually, I was talking to Core from Core Motor Cars. I said, if I hadn't bought the Cayenne GTS that I got, this car I would have bought. So wait until Friday, you'll see what it is. But it's a BMW of the Bangle era, but maybe one of the best ones that they made at that time. It certainly speaks to me. I'll tell you, you'll see it on Friday. How do you check what inches are your tires? I want to check my 2001 Civic snow tires will fit the new Corolla. Okay, so Stephen, when you look at a tire, it'll say, we'll pick a random numbers here, 235, and then it has a dash, 35, and then it'll say R something. Now R, the next two numbers are the size of the tire, size of the wheel. So 235-35R18. So it's an 18-inch wheel, okay? So it's complicated how you measure tires. So the first number, 235, is millimeters across the tread. If you were looking down on a tire, from side to side, that's the width of the tire is in millimeters. Now the next number, the /35, so you take that 235, so that's 235 millimeters, 35 is 35% of that, is how high the tire is, from the rim to the top of the tire. So that's what they call the aspect ratio. And then the last number is the R18, is actually the size of wheel that it fits on. So that's the number you want to look at. So go to your car and have a look. You'll see, like I'm saying with a Honda, it would be maybe 185 R50, 185/50 R16, something like that. So the last number, 16, will be the size of the wheel. I'm making these numbers up off the top of my head, but it'll be something like that on the side of the tire. Okay, have a look for that. What do you think of the Datsun B210? It was, these are the cars I grew up with. I never thought the B210 was a particularly great looking car. The 510, we had two of them. My dad had a two-door, and we had a station wagon as well. The problem was they rusted out. The B210 was fine, but the 510 was better. Actually, Core Motor Cars has an early 70s 510 right now that he's going to be doing some work on. So I'll get my hands on that one day. So that'll be cool. Are you in need of an intern on Vancouver Island? If so, where do I send my resume? Oh, yes. It's the problem is we do everything ourselves. It's kind of hard to bring anybody else in because, to be honest, it would just slow us down. We got it kind of down to a T what we do here. Hey, Zach, love all you and Andrea's videos. Was thinking on the new GTI, Autobahn Edition, and the GTI R. I live in Quebec. All-wheel drive or not? Thanks. Listen, I liked both cars. The videos are going to be coming out. So the GTI will be coming out this Wednesday. The Golf R will be coming out the next Wednesday. It all comes down to price. I don't need to tell you, living in Quebec, that there are plenty of small hatchback cars being driven. There have been for decades. Little cars like the Yaris, the Fit, the Ford Fiesta, and all that kind of stuff. If you put good winter tires on those little cars, you're going to get most places. And you get a lot of snow. I mean, you know how to drive in the snow. Now, if you can afford the Golf R with the all-wheel drive, well, that's a no-brainer. You've got way more power, you've got all-wheel drive, and just a nice car. Absolutely. But there's nothing wrong with the GTI. In fact, the two that we drove back-to-back, I prefer the GTI, knowing that I've saved a lot of money. The one I would actually choose would be the GTI, the Autobahn, which is the middle trim. It's $35,000. I don't want a sunroof, so I wouldn't upgrade for the sunroof. And I would like to get the slightly bigger wheels. So when you get that package, you get the bigger wheel plus the sunroof, but I don't want the sunroof. So I would just find bigger wheels. I'd find them somewhere else if I really wanted them. But that would be the one I would get. I would get the Autobahn, manual transmission, $35,000, and I would be done with it. That's a full $11,000 less than a Golf R. So that's kind of the one I would get. All things being equal, if price didn't matter, yeah, get the Golf R. Does the Corolla have a button on the back to pop the trunk, or is it only by the key? No. It has a pressure release. You don't need to have the key. If the car is equipped with keyless entry, if that package has keyless entry, the trunk would release the same way. You don't have to put a key in. Or you can release it from the latch inside the car. I randomly came across the other day your watch YouTube channel. Was researching a few watches and clicked on one. Did a major double take, and needless to say, very cool. Hey, Raymond, listen, I'm wearing my my vintage Tudor Snowflake, the blue one. I have that one on today. This is from about 1975 or 1976. It's probably my favorite watch. I started that YouTube channel doing the watches, and I just got so busy doing the car stuff. I always think, I should probably start. I'm just too busy, to be honest with you. But they're out there. If you, the channel is called Watch This. Clever, right? The problem is there's a lot of channels called Watch This. But if you find it, there you go. The easiest way to find it is to do a search for Rolex Datejust 2. That video, for whatever reason, took off. It has hundreds of thousands of views. And then you'll find Watch This. Good evening to you, to Zach and Andrew. Nice to see you guys. I work in the DC area and one of the largest BMW centers in North America, and had a customer come in today with a 2020 NX with 8,000 miles. Then she saw the X3 and loved it. I sent her your vid to help her decide. Hey, good. I like that. Good one, Kyle. I appreciate that. The X3 is a great product. The X3 M40i video will be coming out in the next few weeks. It's in the computer here, but we have a whole stack of videos still to come. It will be coming out in the next few weeks. Great car. But boy, could you go from a Lexus NX to a BMW X3? It's like two ends of the spectrum. Like you've got good old reliable, but quite dull, to something a little bit more fun, or a lot more fun. Is Maserati a luxury or premium brand? Greetings from Premier. I would say Maserati is a luxury brand, especially when you get those beautiful sounding engines in some of their cars. Now, some of the entry-level products are, I would say, premium, rebadged. What's the one that has the rebadged Chrysler 300? Yeah, the new SUV looks beautiful, really does. How about the Hyundai Tucson? How about it? Not sure what you're asking. Is Andrea not there? No, she's here. She's upstairs. I've heard different stories about the electric car rebate in Ontario. Can you confirm, please? I already answered that one, Scott. You get $5,000 from the feds. Nothing. Civic Si has always had the limited slip differential. Yes, so that's one of the reasons why you'd want to get the SI. You get more power, and then you get the limited slip differential. You also get the sports adaptive suspension, and you get a sports setting for the engine as well. You don't get that in the regular Civic. Oops, regarding Honda Civic HDP, I meant to say HDP and not HDP. Civic for 2022 has performance developed upgrade trim. I guess that's what it means. No question here, just clarifying my typo. All right, I'm still confused. John Pettigrew, will Canada Drives be available in New Brunswick? Yes, Canada Drives right now is available here in all of British Columbia, all of Alberta, the GTA of Southern Ontario, and their goal is to be in all English-speaking provinces. So you're in New Brunswick, I believe. Yeah, you're in Moncton. So I think, yeah, they'll be in New Brunswick. It's not a huge French population, but yeah, not like Quebec. Yeah, their goal is to expand to all provinces. What the timeline is on that, I can ask, but I heard it was going to be imminent. You know, not far away. The 9th generation Civic Si is available as a coupe and a sedan, a 6-speed manual transmission with a limited slip differential. There is no Civic Si coupe, only the sedan in North America. All right, where are we here? Another super chat. Since there was a break in the supply chain, do you know how to not buy snow tires if they're over a year old? Is there a code or something? I can't remember exactly what it is, but there is a code on the tires, and the last numbers will tell you when the tires were produced. I wouldn't worry about a tire that's a year old. I wouldn't worry about that at all. If the tire's a lot older, yeah, but if it's 1 year old, I wouldn't know. Like go Google how to read the production date codes on a tire, and then it'll show you, when you look at the tire, you'll see the numbers. And I think it's the last 2 numbers. I'm trying to remember if it's the month and the year, something like that, but you can look on a tire and find it. How you do it, off the top of my head, I can't remember. The shape of the Pacifica grows on you, especially with big wheels. Do you think it could deliver 300,000 miles? I mean, anything is possible. I mean, if you maintain any vehicle, it will run indefinitely. But yeah, I'm not sure that would be my first choice for 300,000 miles, but I'm sure it could be done. Okay, we are past our hour now. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats here. Oh, we have one here. Picked up a 2001 Audi TT Quattro on snows for a Winnipeg winter car today. Have you owned and or done a video on the original TT? Yes. I don't think there's one on the channel, but I did it when I was for TV. I did the TT. That's a great winter car. I mean, a great all-wheel drive system, loads of fun. Yeah, have fun with that. That's a cool one. I don't have anything I can show you right now on the channel. I don't think we ever covered the TT. I have done it, but for TV, not for YouTube. Jeff Fraser sent in a super chat. Thank you, Jeff. Nice of you. Just going to make sure I didn't miss anybody here. Yeah, I think we got them all. So thanks to everybody that came on board tonight. I really appreciate all the super chats. It's very nice of you. I'm just saying there might be another one coming in here. Yeah, we're all done for today. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. It certainly helps. The Civic hatch came out yesterday. On Tuesday, it's going to be the Civic hatch and the Corolla hatch comparison. On Wednesday, it's the GTI, the full video review that I did with Andrea. And then we do another full video review of the Santa Fe plug-in hybrid will be on Saturday. And we have lots of stuff in the can that's still to come. We still have the Golf R to come. We have the X7 Alpina. We have the X340i. We've got the plug-in hybrid Ford Escape that's still to come. So lots and lots of things on the channel. So thanks for checking in on this Sunday. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great week, everybody. We'll chat with you then. Bye now.